They're going to try to sponsor candidates to come to the opposition side and try to divide Kenyans, people who are regime friendly. There are some young people, you see their movement, you can clearly tell this is sponsored by the regime with a view to confuse or to infiltrate the opposition voices.
Fake IDs have been issued to people who are not even Kenyan so that they can be able to vote for him.
Yes, they will try to give IDs. They may try to not exercise proper vetting for certain people. It is impossible. The most that they could do is to try to suppress numbers when it comes to registration. The first lie that is repeated so many times in Kenya is that someone is elected as president or member of parliament or a governor for 5 years. Ask anybody, where is it written that a president is elected to serve for 5 years? In our constitution, it does not exist. It is my duty as a constitutional practitioner to remind Kenyans that as from 2010, there is no 5-year term for a president.
Do you think he's ready to be a one-term president?
It is not his choice to be ready. It is his destiny to be a one-term president. That is his destiny. In my interactions with Kenyans, I'm not seeing Kenyans pitted against fellow Kenyans.
Yes.
I'm seeing Kenyans pitted against legacy politicians. The saddest, in fact, this is going to be the most potent weapon. They are going to bring back tribal politics to try to evoke tribal emotions, to dissuade people from focusing on the real issue of the country, which is the economy.
Hey guys, welcome to today's episode of LNS. My name is Lynn Ngugi. I know it's been a minute since we met for another thought-provoking conversation, but I'm so happy to have my guest back on this platform. Honestly, when he says, Lynn, election should be held in 2026, not 2027, some people are like, wait, what? 2026? How is that even constitutionally possible? Today he will be breaking down to us all that, and also maybe walk us through some of the hidden strategies that Ruto is using to make sure that come 2026 or 2027 he gets back to power. But before we continue even with today's episode, I want to remind you guys, when we lose our fear, they lose their power. I have been advocating for a beautiful country, and we can't give up on ourselves right now. So even as we continue having these conversations, ask yourself, what are you doing in preparation for the next election? Guys, pay keen attention to the manifestos. Please, please, please do not vote along tribal lines. Don't let someone convince you that watafanya watatenda ama wametenga. Make sure that this time you play your role in making sure come 2026 or 2027, we have the Kenya we all deserve. Also to welcome all the new subscribers that we have on this platform. I do not take you guys for granted. Thank you for getting us to almost 1.4 million subscribers. Makofi kwenyu. It's been amazing. I know this show is not about me, so without further ado, please allow me to let my guest today introduce himself so that we can get straighter or get right to our conversation of today. Willis,
yes.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Nice to see you again.
Good to see you
It's
too.
a pleasure to have you back on the platform.
I'm glad.
How many months now since
it was last year in June.
It's almost
Around
a year.
June. Yes, almost
since
a year.
We sat for a conversation.
Yes.
Nice to have you.
I'm glad to be here.
We have a lot of new people on the platform.
Yes.
So in case someone missed out on our conversation or they are watching this even outside the country, could you introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
I'm Willis Otieno, Advocate of the High Court of Kenya and also a civic educator. I'm a public-spirited citizen who believes that we need to fight to make sure that Kenya works for all Kenyans. And every Kenyan deserves to be a little king in his space. We cannot have a country where only a select few are benefiting when the vast majority are suffering. So that is what I do. I'm also a political animal. Yeah. I belong to a political party called Safina Party. Jimmy Wanjigi is our leader. I'm his deputy. And when the right time comes, we will invite Kenyans to consider us for leadership based on what is it our commitment to the people.
All right.
Which we believe it's about the economy. And that is all our politics about.
Why the economy in particular?
The economy, because look at it this way. we got our political rights. We fought for political independence in 1963. And our political rights, in my view, were solidified in 2010, when we got that in 2010 Constitution on the 27th of August, 2010. Institutions of governance, Parliament, Senate, devolved units, the Bill of Rights, they were all in that Constitution of 2010. Now, in terms of political agitation, I do believe that that marked the end of the political quest, the fight for political rights in Kenya. So you see, we have all these big people occupying offices. We can speak freely the way we are speaking today. These are political rights. But after attaining political rights, the next important issue normally is economic independence. Because it is not enough to have the freedom to speak if you are hungry in your stomach. It's not enough to have the freedom to speak or even the right to vote for your leader, but you do not have a job. The economy is not working for you. Now that is the ultimate freedom that a human being can attain, giving them economic liberation, the ability to live a life of dignity. So that for you to enjoy your political rights, your economic independence has also been guaranteed. That is what we believe in now, that the Kenyan people are now fighting for the third and final liberation, which is the economic liberation of the people. And it's important to understand, in every liberation fight, there is always an oppressor. Who is our oppressor? The one who is denying the Kenyan people an opportunity to be free economically. That oppressor, I call them legacy politicians, led by William Ruto. Because to them, the system as exists today, it serves their purpose. They'll come to you every day, raid your pockets to raise your taxes, to underwrite their lavish expenses. Whereas you cannot afford healthcare services, they condemn you to use public healthcare services, which they are not funding or underfunding. Then they use your taxpayers' money to take international life insurance covers, health insurance covers, so that if they get a cold, a legacy politician goes to South Africa. He's flown to South Africa, fully paid for by a taxpayer. You saw one governor who decided to go and deliver in America, which is your right, by the way, to go and deliver in America. But what is the public perception you're sending out? If you're in charge of an entire healthcare system in a county, you expect people in that county to use those facilities, and you cannot subject yourself to facilities within the same county and have the temerity to go out and say, how do you expect me to subject myself before my county doctors?
How can they see me naked?
How can they see me naked? I mean, that is legacy politics. Those are the legacy politicians I talk about. To them, we exist as Kenyans to serve them. They come to bleed off our sweat. They bleed us. They drain us to live a lavish life. They don't do anything with a view to empower the people. Now, Safina Party, where I belong to, our main agenda is to change the conversation, drain the swamp, break this entire system, and we build a totally new system. A system where it is Mwananchi who has a voice and the final determinant on how his money is being spent. Because governance is about the people's money. It is not their money, it is the people's money, because the people have donated their sovereignty to the leaders, and in the process they also donate their money to be used in trust for their benefit. But what we witness the legacy politicians, they use the money not to the benefit of the beneficiaries. The trustees have turned now to be vultures. They use it for their own lavish lifestyles. That one we must change.
I love the fact that a lot of us are now aware,
Yes.
you know, what is happening in our country economically. I mean, last year, you and Jimmy, we gotta give you credit for that. You went out and you made sure you educated people on the debts and why we must not even pay some of these debts, because they have absolutely nothing to do with us. Do you think finally people are listening? Do you think now people are leaving this whole political stage and now they are awakening economically?
In fact,
what changes have you noted?
Well, one thing I must say, when we started the debt conversation and even the economic conversation, at first, inside there's a time when we were doing a forensic report, we were publishing it. We had to pay to get media coverage.
Oh, wow.
And people are not paying attention to it. But the constant conversation we've had on this, today, you go to any daily, debt becomes a very easy headline news every day. They are discussing it. The Auditor General has been emboldened. She's speaking about it. Controller of Budget keeps speaking about it. And all the agencies, in my view, that play a primary role in terms of oversighting public expenditure and public debt, we have their public records. They've responded in a large way, simply, in fact, justifying, saying that you're actually right, validating the point that Jimmy, Ngugi, and myself have been raising. So, and you see also in the public conversation, more and more Kenyans are now aware. People are asking critical questions. People are doing their own independent research. When the National Treasury releases the statements of actuals, expenditures and revenue per month, I find many Kenyans discussing it. They are able to look at it and say, look here, look how much you spent as debt finance. So I'll say that we are getting to that point. And we must also give credit to our young people, the Gen Zs, having in a very vociferous way come out on 25th of June 2024 to agitate on the economic issue, not on a tribal issue, on an issue that affects all Kenyans. That was the best advertisement and awakening. And they brought to the attention of many Kenyans the need to pay attention to our economic situation and the proposed solutions by the legacy politicians and how it cannot work. So going forward, even our politics has been informed by that Gen Z revolution. Everybody wants to attune their posturing with that constituency. But core to that constituency was the question of economy. And when William Ruto, for example, now tries to speak to Kenyans, why people are not listening to him? He's not responding to the problem that the Kenyan people have posed.
Has he ever?
He can't. They don't even know it. Because the Kenyan people are saying our problem is the economy. The economy is not working for us. His response is to say, I'm building 1,000 housing units. And he wants us to go and clap for him for putting up affordable, so-called affordable housing in Mukuru, 1,000 units. Or Homa Bay, 110 units. 110 housing units in Homa Bay. And you've spent almost 2 billion Kenya shillings to put up those units. That is nonsense. Let's be honest. Homa Bay has a population of almost 700,000 people. You put 110 units in Homa Bay at the cost of 2 billion Kenya shillings. What are you doing? You go and put up a pyre in Homa Bay. And you expect people to clap for you. Do you know what a pyre is? A pyre is a landing bay. Just where the boats will come and anchor. And then people are able to walk, access back to the land. At over 1.5 billion Kenya shillings. You are now promising to put a similar pyre in Nusenge. Ask yourself, if a pyre is just a place for a boat to anchor, why don't you start your intervention by saying, when that boat is going to anchor, what is inside that boat? What catch? If I have 1 billion shillings, am I going to put a landing bay or am I going to invest in the fish farmer?
Fish farmer.
Because you want the fish farmer to be in a position to earn something, produce more. Give them this even as soft loans, for example, or buy for them equipment, fish cages and technology that can assist them, feeds that can assist them. Even, let's say, I'm putting together 10,000 fish farmers in a cooperative unit. We give them this as an advanced soft loan by government. These 10,000 fish farmers, we want you to produce 8 tons of fish in 6 months, because fish you harvest twice a year. We have a ready market in Europe for tilapia. You can't even meet the demand in Europe for tilapia. Here it is. So in 6 months' time we meet, they have 8 tons of fish harvested. Then you can say, okay, now since we have a ready market, we have the produce, we can put a pyre. But legacy politicians, we want to put a pyre because it looks good on a photograph.
Oh, wow.
Not the picture of a farmer toiling in the lake, feeding his fish, harvesting it in bare chest, in a raggedy boat, but then to go and sell. Then you launch a fish market. A fish market is not a physical structure. A fish market is where the produce is able to earn money. So you don't go and put a karai there in an open fire and you fry it, then you eat it, then you say, now you've empowered Homa Bay. But that is legacy politics. Affordable housing. Why are Kenyans not able to access housing units? Here in Kilimani, and I've told you this before, we have so many houses that are empty. Nice, beautifully done apartments. People cannot live in those houses because they don't have money. They can't pay the rents. So it means the problem is not a housing problem. Your problem is an income problem. So if you really wanted intervention that assists the people, deal with their problem. Their problem is money, income. So what is stopping them from earning money? What are your government policies that are hindering people from earning money, from producing more? You remove them. Look what he was doing with the bloggers, online community. He decides that now we are going to restrict, impose more levies and taxes on them. We are going to restrict and require more licenses for you to be able to shoot your content and air it. Why? You should actually be one who says, what are the restrictions that people who are engaging in the online community are facing? What are the barriers? Remove the barriers, because you want that sector to grow. When these people earn money, there's what we call indirect taxes. When they have money in their pockets, they are going to spend in the economy. When they spend in the economy, you're going to earn more money in VAT, consumption tax. So as a Safina, for example, what we will say, I look at the online community as a group of Kenyans who, using their innovative ideas, have identified a niche and a market. Some of it, in fact, most of it even abroad, where they earn this money from. We will not be earning that money if they're not doing it. So what do? I'll make sure that you remove all the restrictions that they're facing, because I want that money to get into their pockets. In terms of contribution to the Kenyan economy, I'll want them to spend more. They have disposable income.
Yeah.
Now they can go and spend. If he was having black tea in the morning, now he can buy a maziwa. I have VAT on that maziwa, or I have a levy on that maziwa, or there's a pay behind the factory where the maziwa is produced. I want them to go out. When they buy their drinks, there are taxes on that drink, so they are contributing. We are earning more.
Yep.
Now that is the kind of conversation that we should be having as Kenyans.
Are you telling me he doesn't know this? Because I refuse to believe he's just a stupid man sitting somewhere. Are you telling me this knowledge to him is a privilege?
No. It's not that he doesn't know it. I've told you these are legacy politicians. A legacy politician wants you to worship him. They want you to have money. When you have money, you become a problem. Because with money, who will question you? You are the one who will be questioning everybody. Yeah. You are becoming a little king. Legacy politicians prefer that you stay.
You depend on
You are dependent on them. That is what, so you worship them every day. You take them out, you take them as your livelihood. So what I'm saying is the type of politics where it is the people who have money. In fact, they summon legacy politicians to, okay, now we've only, what have you done to enhance or to help us earn more from our sector? Not come and meet us to give us 100 bob. That's what legacy politicians want. But we need to change it. We should be in a position where the owner of the country, the people, summons their leaders to ask them, hey, since you came into office, this is how much you are earning. We are seeing there's minimal growth in our sector. What are you doing? Where are the new markets for us? If you can't give us new markets, we are voting you out. That's the kind of conversation. Not that come and meet us and you are the one giving us 1,000 bob. It should be even us to tell you, no, we support your campaign. Here is the money. Shika, go and buy a newspaper advertisement or online space to sell your policies. So, for example, in the US, in developed democracies, when people donate to campaigns, they don't donate to campaigns to be used to bribe voters. They donate to campaigns to get more advertisement space for people to be able to interrogate your ideas. But in Kenya, when somebody asks you to support his campaign, it is the money is meant to be used to bribe a voter, not to sell a policy.
And when you question them, they abduct you.
They abduct you.
Before we get into the whole 2026-2027 election year, June is a very dark month. Majority of the people in the country, I think when we go back and just remember what happened June last year, I know these are things majority of the people would really love to forget. We lost so many lives. So how does it make you feel when the president stands and says, hata wenye wamesha abductiwa wamerudishwa, and do you think they've done enough to even apologize to people for what Kenya went through last year?
They've not done anything to show any remorse at all. If anything, in my view, they've laughed at the face of Kenya. They're doing a dance macabre on the face of Kenyans, on the graves even of our young people who lost their lives, who were killed. They didn't lose their lives. They were killed. They were assassinated by the state. When they last met at Safari Park, that prayer meeting, there was that American gentleman who, in a way, he spoke my heart because he was able to call them out when everybody else had tried to posture as if the problem was the young people. But that preacher was very categorical. He said, no, we must listen to these people. In fact, we owe them an apology. We must tell them that what we've done to you is wrong. Then William Ruto stands up and says, if. No, when I was learning English in primary school, my headmaster, Mr. Bodo, used to say, the moment the word if is used, then forget the first sentence. You've negated everything. An apology cannot be conditional. An apology should be equivocal. It should not be tied to terms. Then it ceases being an apology. And for those of us who work in restorative justice, one thing we always say is that a public apology should be an unequivocal apology at first instance. Then beyond apology, you move to the next level, which is recognition. So you should have said, I apologize. Then recognize those who bore the brunt of the atrocities, the victims, the ones who lost their lives. You should mention all the 82 Kenyans by name. As the state should mention them. That is the recognition. You even have a plaque in remembrance of them. Then we go to accountability. Having identified them, we must hold to account those who committed these atrocities or those who bore the greatest responsibility for these atrocities. The policemen, those units that were wearing balaclavas, shooting our young people, they should be in court today. Then beyond that, you now move to restoration. Restoration, what are we going to do to make sure it never happens again? Because that is very important. That's why accountability comes before restoration. You must set up structures to make sure we never do it again. Otherwise, it becomes a farce. Unfortunately, barely 4 days after the perceived apology, you saw what they were doing to Rose Njeri. And you look at the charge sheet, for providing an email address for people to share their views on the finance bill to Parliament. You abduct her, hold her in a police cell for a whole weekend. You deny her right to bail. You'd even deny her restrict access to counsel. Then that is the charge sheet you bring. And Rose Njeri in particular is a very key issue because it ties, her arrest is tied to what was the trigger of the revolution last year. It was the finance bill. She's just given a platform for Kenyans to discuss this finance bill again and share their views with their members of parliament. Nothing to warrant an arrest. So it tells you that apology was not an apology, that was a PR. So the administration is not committed. And even, I'm sorry to say this, but it's the truth. The 10-point agenda that they signed as PPG, it's nothing. They had said they were going to look into compensation of the victims. Up to date. No. I've even seen a conversation, even a meeting, just to identify, even call on Kenyans that we're having this committee sitting to take stock of the victims. The ones who are killed, there's the public records of them. the ones who are maimed, the ones who are injured. Even just somebody sitting down to say, I'm taking stock, these are public office, we are noting down with a view to compensate. Nothing. It's now almost a year, 8 months since the so-called BBG was formed. You want to tell me they have all the time to do all the other political things, but they can't spare one day out of 365 days, just one day, that somebody in government, big as government is, can just sit down with a piece of paper and a pen and say, Kenyans, or I'm taking notes of records of those who are injured during the demonstrations. We want to compensate them. You see, that is the usual. They throw it in the back burner. Legacy politicians focus on themselves. The whole charade was about them getting positions for themselves. And that's what they know. That's what they do every election. Anyway, they go compete, fight amongst themselves. Then they come back. Once they make a settlement, they sign an agreement, lofty promises, but the people's agenda, what is the benefit to the benefit of the people, is ignored, is forgotten. They move to other things.
Yeah.
Now the conversation will move to 2026, the next elections, not about the people who suffered the atrocities that led even to that political settlement.
Yes.
We must call them out.
We must.
Yeah.
And talking of these people who want to vie for presidency come the next election, we have Matiang'i, we have Maraga. I know he's very respected in the corridors of justice. We have Omtata. Would you care to comment on each and every one of them? Assuming Willis and Jimmy Wajik, they are saying, okay, Lynn, tunaweza, assuming you guys are out, would you care to comment on
You know,
the three?
I'll say this.
Yes.
Somebody like Omtata.
Yeah.
Omtata is a public-spirited citizen, and he has shown through his public conduct his care for good governance in this country. So he means well, in my view.
Okay.
Somebody like Maraga, equally, you know, sometimes when you test a man, the true character of a man is revealed when he has power. And to the extent that Maraga, when he was Chief Justice, and I always say this, the Supreme Court of Kenya only has one duty, to uphold the Constitution. So Maraga, when he was Chief Justice on the 1st of September 2017, even when it looked almost impossible, he stood true to our Constitution.
Yeah.
That showed strength in character, that he could have gone the easy way out and simply said, that is a political problem, ignore the Constitution, whatever illegalities we have witnessed, iko sawa, tuendelee. But he said no. And he went further and said, even if you could do it again, don't follow the Constitution, you will find the same verdict. Maraga even issued an advisory opinion, as per the Constitution, that this parliament does not meet the two-thirds gender principle. The Constitution says if it doesn't meet the two-thirds gender principle, dissolve it. The matter went to High Court, Court of Appeal, it went to the Chief Justice to issue an advisory. He issued an advisory. He wrote to the President, Parliament does not meet the two-thirds gender principle. As per the Constitution, I am mandated to issue an advisory for you to dissolve it. It is them who refuse to dissolve it. But he played his part. So Maraga also equally, in my view. When it mattered, he stood true to the Constitution and to the interest of the people. So he's somebody that I can say his participation in our politics is out of a genuine desire to advance the common good.
Yeah.
Matiang'i, unfortunately, I will judge him also based on his past. And he was a very influential figure in the past administration. And there are many issues that administration engaged in when he was the supervisor of government and even the interior secretary, which he still owes Kenyans an explanation. There were disappearances, there were killings that took place at that time, and his public posturing on some issues calls to question his commitment to our Constitution. And in particular, there's a clip that I saw sometimes when he was in, there were some young men who were killed in Nakuru.
Yeah.
And they were alleged to be thieves, even if they were. And they had been killed by the police. And Matiang'i went to a public forum and said, we will kill them, and don't bring for me a question about human rights. Human rights kitu gani? You get? Then we witnessed his attitude towards court orders.
Yeah.
That no, even if you give that court order, we'll ignore it. You can't tell me that the court is going to tell me somebody is going to commit a crime and the court has given an order and it's anticipating, so I go to court. You know, that kind of attitude when you have power, it scares me. Because it means to you, you are the rule of law. The law is what you say it is. I'd rather a Maraga, who even when it is, he can easily hide in the flow. He says, no, the law is the law. We will follow it. But than a Matiang'i, who when he was in office, adopted an arrogant attitude towards the rule of law. That he could actually say, I'm ignoring court orders. We are going to, don't ask me about human rights. And more so in light of people who have been killed. Even if they are guilty. But take them through the due process of the law. Because I always say, it is even better to have 10 criminals free than one innocent man in jail. If that same attitude was to be applied on innocents, you can have so many innocents in jail. Now imagine if it is death. This was a case of death. And you are the one who is holding a senior position. And you're saying, don't bring for me issues of human rights. No. I don't think Matiang'i will be any different from William Ruto. That is my personal view. He was Jubilee, and they were in Jubilee together. That is what Kenyans are suffering from, the pain of Jubilee. As Jimmy Wanjigi always puts it, Jubilee was a coronavirus. It mutated into Omicron and Delta. Omicron was Azimio. Delta was Kenya Kwanza. You are not going to get a good future with either of them. They are both corona. So anybody who was in Jubilee, whether in Azimio or whether in Kenya Kwanza, I'm sorry. I will not.
They have to go.
They all have to go.
All right.
They all have to go.
Let's get into it.
Yes.
Willis, why are we to have election in 2026, not 2027? Manze huku nje watu wamejipanga na 2027. Kila kitu ni election 2027. Come 2027, one term 2027. Why again are we talking about 2026? Walk us through in a way all of us can be able to understand.
You know, Lynn, this is what legacy politicians do to you. They sell you something and they capture your mind.
Yes.
Until you start forgetting. You assume what they're saying is true. And a lie repeated so many times starts sounding like the truth.
Absolutely.
So the first lie that is repeated so many times in Kenya is that someone is elected as president or member of parliament or a governor for 5 years. Ask anybody, where is it written that a president is elected to serve for 5 years? In our constitution, it does not exist. Our old constitution, in section 9, had provided that the president is elected to serve for a term of 5 years. It was there before. In the new constitution, that provision was dropped. But legacy politicians decided to keep selling that narrative. Yangu kumi yake kumi.
Bila break.
Kumi bila break. You get?
Yes.
So that was sold and Kenyans bought it. It is my duty as a constitutional practitioner to remind Kenyans that as from 2010, there is no 5-year term for a president. And if you want to look at term of office of a president in our constitution, I invite Kenyans who are reading, look at Article 142. And Article 142 of the Constitution talks about term of office of president. And it says the president shall hold office for a term beginning on the date, the term of office. Your term beginning on the date on which the president was sworn in, the day you are sworn in, and ending when the person next elected president in accordance with Article 136(2)(a) is sworn in. It is not given in terms of years. Your term starts from the day you are sworn in. It ends when the next person elected under Article 136 is sworn in. So what we need to do is to go into Article 136 so that we understand it, because it's cross-referenced here.
Yes.
Election of the president. An election of the president shall be held, that is Article 136(2)(a), on the same day as a general election of members of parliament, being the second Tuesday in August in every 5th year. Keywords are the following: second Tuesday in August, then in every 5th year. In the 5th year. It is important you understand that term. Just a lay reading of this, number one, will tell you it is done inside the 5th year, not after, not every.
Yes.
And that should guide you to understand that your duty is to find the 5th year. Then inside the 5th year, do your elections. That clear?
Very.
So there is no requirement anywhere for you to do elections after 5 years. Even if they had a 5-year term, the Constitution says you conduct elections on the second Tuesday in August in the 5th year.
Yeah. So according to you, Ruto was sworn in
20 September 13th, 2022.
September.
Yes.
So we are supposed to have now the election, the August of 2026.
No, when you want to count,
yes,
this is how you count. Because remember, this term of office is independent from election cycle. So we have two different things that some people use interchangeably. Term of office is independent. So put term of office in 142 is independent. Then we have the tenure, we have the election cycle in 136. Election cycle works this way. It is done in every 5th year. So you go from the date of the last election, which was 9th of August 2022. So we have to look for the 5th year from the 9th of August 22. When is the 5th year beginning? Then once we find the 5th year, look for the second Tuesday in August. So in terms of counting dates or years in our Constitution, I invite our people to look at Article 259, 5C. And it says, in this Constitution, in calculating that 259.5, in calculating time between two events for any purpose under this Constitution, if the time is expressed as years, that is 259C, as years, the period of time ends at the beginning of the date of the relevant year that corresponds to the date on which the period began.
The date the period began.
Yes. So at the beginning of the corresponding date. So it was 9th of August 2022. So 1 year runs from 9th of August 2022 to 8th of August 2023. That is 1 year. The 9th of August 23 to 8th of August 24, year 2. 9th of August 24 to 8th of August 25, year 3. 9th of August 25 to 8th of August 26.
Year 4.
9th of August 2026 to 8th of August 2027. You've got it? That is year 5. So 9th of August 2026 to 8th of August 2027. That is the 5th year. 9th of August 2026, that period up to 8th of August 2027, inside there is the 5th year.
So si basi mtu anaweza fanya tu election.
No. Then you are told to look for the second Tuesday in August
of the
inside the 5th year.
Kaput.
Yeah.
So
the August is in 2026. The first August will be 2026. The second first Tuesday will be 2026. Second Tuesday will be 2026. Third Tuesday, fourth Tuesday, fifth Tuesday. The one in 2027 will be falling like almost the sixth Tuesday. The fifth Tuesday.
And it can't work that way.
Can't work that way.
So election in 2026.
2026. The first Tuesday, the 3rd of August. Second Tuesday is the 11th of August.
Yeah.
Of 2026.
Okay. So the judiciary, how have they now interpreted this to Kenyans?
So now,
because that means we should already know we are having election in 2026.
In fact, what has happened is this. Previously, there was an attempt, because the only person, I must say this, the only person in our constitution who was given a 5-year term was the MCA. So when MCAs in 2017, elections were called on the 8th of August 2017, MCAs went to court saying, no, under Article 177(4), I'm elected to serve for 5 years, and per the Constitution. Why are they calling elections before I serve my full term? So they went to court to stop the elections. But the court told them, no, at the time when the elections were called, they are not done 5 years. The court told them, no. In fact, your same constitution says your election must be held with others. So we cannot wait for you to serve for a full 5-year term. Your election must be done with the others. So you are going to lose 8 months because of the requirement to hold it with the others. It was a standalone elections,
Well and good.
so we cannot read this one provision of the Constitution as superior to the others. Then there was also an attempt to challenge this provision in regard to 2022 elections. But in one of the cases, in my view, the Court of Appeal had made a mistake. In fact, when you look at the case of Andrew Limo, the Court of Appeal had said that, in fact, they counted very well. Year 1, the way we've counted, this is year 1, run from this to this, year 2, year 3, year 4. Year 5 is from 9th of August, that time it was 9th of August, no, it was 8th of August, 2021, to 8th of August, 2020 to 8th of August, 2021. Then they proceed to say, but you will hold elections on a date which they gave, which was a Thursday. But people were still not aware. It was not scrutinized. So now we've moved to ask the question afresh. And we're asking the Supreme Court to consider it and give Kenyans, why are legacy politicians selling to us that they are elected to serve for 5 years? Where is it? Just that the question of term of office. The way in which it is worded, you have no 5-year term.
How did Uhuru do it?
Now, let's look at Uhuru. And it's very important we look at Uhuru one.
Yeah.
Uhuru was elected as president. Elections took place on the 4th of March, 2013. He was sworn in on the 9th of April, 2013. His first elections were held on the 8th of August, 2017. I want us to count.
Let's do it.
4th of March was the election date.
March. 4th of March.
2013. Running until 3rd of March,
2014.
1
That's
year.
one.
4th of March 2014 to 3rd of March 2015.
2.
4th of March 2015 to 3rd of March 2016.
3.
4th of March 2016 to 3rd of March 2017.
4.
4th of March 2017 to 3rd of March 2018.
5.
If it was a 5-year term, we should have done elections in
2018, not 2017.
Not 2017. We did the elections. We went into the 5th year. Again, important. Let's everybody capture this. We went into the 5th year, which was running from the 4th of March 2017 to 3rd of March 2018. So inside that 5th year, we looked for the second Tuesday in August, which fell on the 8th of August 2017. And we did our elections.
So
Uhuru had only served for 4 years and 5 months when the elections were called. There was no 5 years that he served. In fact, the members of parliament in that 11th parliament, they only served for 4 years and 2 months.
Okay.
When elections were called. Because parliament, they were sworn in, I think, later on, after the president.
Na yake ya from 2017.
Now, yake
ya pili.
That is where one mistake that was made. Number one, if you are counting looking for the 5th year, it should have been held in 2021. But still, remember, when Uhuru was elected, his election was nullified.
Yes. So
they had to do a repeat election. And he was sworn in on the 28th of November, 2017. If you count from that date of election, of swearing in, to the date when the 2022 elections were called, Uhuru only served for 4 years, 8 months, and 12 days.
Yeah.
He never served for 5 years. So we don't have a 5-year term provision. It is not in our politics. It doesn't exist. The only person who had it was the MCA, but by the court order and interpretation of the constitution, the MCAs don't even serve that 5 years.
So, see, then the IEBC, they need to know this and they need to start creating awareness already. Election is 2026.
Now, the IEBC is serving the interests of legacy politicians who have decided to ask Kenyans to calculate this way. 2022 plus 5 is 2027. 2027 plus 5 2032. You see, they're already talking about 2032. They are planting it in your head.
Yeah.
Because they're simply saying the easiest way to lie to Kenyans, just tell them plus 5. That year plus 5. Then there's still 1 year of your sovereignty.
So who can the civilians sue?
This is why we've gone to Supreme Court. To ask the Supreme Court, no. IEBC has a duty. In fact, they should be the ones leading this onslaught. Read the Constitution and tell Kenyans, this is how we arrive at your elections date. As it is, I've not seen even a public commentary from IEBC to say how they arrived at an election date. Legacy politicians are not telling us how they arrive at an election date. Somebody just decides to tell you it is 2027. Kumi bila break. I'm elected for 5 years. Show us where in our laws that tells us you are elected to serve for 5 years. Because based on past experience, since this Katiba came into force, no single Kenyan has sat in an office from MCA to president. Not a single one has served for a solid 5 years before the elections are called. Not a single person.
But now, if this is what should guide us as a country, and this is what we are dismissing, what does that say now?
Now, that to me is danger. It is danger because the moment you start circumventing the Constitution, wishing it away, finding it an inconvenience, that is how countries collapse. Because the rule of law does not count. You know, in a Constitution, it's a document of commitment, where people say, I recognize that I may be wild out here. I should be free from any restraint. I can walk in and commit all manner of crimes. But for purposes of a nation, let's come together as a committee of nations. Let's donate our sovereignty to a body that we elect. And then this body will make sure that it governs us based on this constitution. Because ideally, who says another man should be a lord over me? Man should be free to live the way he wants. But because sometimes my interests will clash with Lynn's interest, so Lynn and I, we come together and we create a nation called Kenya. And in part of donating our sovereignty, because everybody individually is a king. When we come together to create a nation, we come up with a constitution as a document to govern our relationship as individuals and our relationship with the people we are going to elect to oversee our governance. If that group decides to ignore this Katiba, what does it mean? It means the primary document that binds us together as a nation has been put aside.
Do you think Ruto knows election inafaa kwa 2026?
He knows. For a fact, let me tell you, I'm sure even intelligence have picked this conversation. Kenyans have been now discussing it robustly. Everybody's doing their own math. They know it. And they'll try to interfere with this public education.
Because I sense that.
They are going to try to interfere with it. I'm sure even some of the videos I saw some people did on YouTube were pulled down. Why did they pull them down? I mean, that site was pulled down. Why? I'm sure somewhere the state is saying this kind of civic education,
it shouldn't be.
It should not be there.
Well,
why are Kenyans asking? Because it means you are telling them they are planned for 5 years. There's still 1 year of your sovereignty. 1 year when they just serve without a ballot, without the people donating their sovereign power to them. Now you are telling them to come forward. And in the mood where Kenyans are today. Kenyans are very impatient with anybody in elective office today.
Yeah.
Kenyans want to exercise their sovereignty and tell the people who they last elected that you failed, get out. Fagia what?
KJ.
Yes. The problem now, these people who are elected then don't want to face the wrath of the bosses. So 1 year, to them means everything.
So what's the worst that can happen if we start interpreting our constitution that way?
Well, the worst that can happen is this. First, we hope the Supreme Court, this matter in the Supreme Court. And I've given this article to high school kids to read and give me the interpretation. People who speak English. I even got a Swahili version of the Constitution. I got a Luo version of the Constitution. I gave high schoolers so that I wanted to understand, is this thing maybe too much legal language, or is it something that mwananchi can understand? Independently, all three groups came up with one answer. Elections are in 2026. I said, okay, then there's a plain reading of the Constitution. Anybody who can speak English, Kiswahili, or any language that the Constitution has been translated into can see this 2026. Now, what will the Supreme Court do? There's another group that has also gone to the High Court. We expect them to uphold the Constitution. But if they decide to run away from it, that is how institutions fail nations. They start undermining the belief of the people that they have in those institutions. Nations don't fail just out of a bomb blast, for example. It never happens rapidly. Nations fail when you start undermining institutions of governance. Public loses trust in those institutions. People start seeing that they are not upholding the commitments in the Constitution. Then they start setting up their own parallel systems of resolving their disputes. Then before you know it, a nation collapses. Because those who are entrusted with positions of authority decided to conduct themselves outside the commitment document, being the Constitution.
Yes. Well, that's interesting. I hope even just by people listening in, they can be able to do their own calculation and we can create as much awareness around this as possible. Do you think they are scared to get outside power, or have they read the mood of the people? Because as you said, Kenyans are we don't have the patience right now. We want whoever needs to be out as soon as possible.
You know,
yeah.
The coming election is the type of an election that is, in my view, is going to witness the highest voter turnout in the history of the nation. And it will be an election that is extremely hostile to any incumbent. Anybody holding an office is going to face it rough. Why? For the first time, you have a population that is highly political. The level of awareness amongst Kenyans is extremely high. And when Kenyans went out last June to demonstrate, they branded the legacy politicians. That was a point of demarcation. It is us versus them. And Kenyans are more than them. So now, the handshake, what is called BBG, in a way delayed the revolution. It didn't kill it, it just delayed it. Now, very soon you are going to witness, when the political campaigns start, great hostility to legacy politicians. And Kenyans know that the ballot is their greatest weapon to sort out this mess. When that time comes, I will be surprised if even William Ruto gets 1 million votes. Maybe, if he, in his best, the most he can get is 2 million. But I'll be surprised if he gets even 1 million. And the turnout is going to be massive turnout across the entire country. Because we, the Kenyan people, have documented the regime. People have all the evidence in their phones. They'll be replaying all those images. They are able to tell what they want. They know what they don't want. And it will be a point of returning the scorecard that those who came into office failed the people. And we are going to get them out and get a new leadership.
Speaking of a high vote turnout, you know, there have been a lot of issues even with IDs, issuance and stuff like that. Do you think this is one of the hidden strategies that the government in power might use to continue or even win in the next election? And what are some of the others you've observed that are derailing Kenyans?
You know, a regime that is unpopular like this one will try to use all the rules in the book to undermine the actualization of the vote. During the Moi days, it used to be you deny opposition zones IDs, you cause tribal clashes, you don't deploy election materials to opposition zones. So it was all manner of things.
Yes.
But this one, number one, the opposition is faceless. There is no place you can say this is an opposition zone. In legacy politics, they used to divide the country into tribes. So you know opposition zone is where these people are. You can even close clashes here to displace those voters. But William Ruto is facing strong opposition, even amongst his tribesmen. Many Kenyan people are not happy with how the government is being run. You saw the demonstrations in Eldoret during the finance bill demonstrations. They had to use now rungus to scare people back into, not to demonstrate, not to speak their minds. So people are judging him based on the economy. He may think that certain perceived opposition zones are the ones that will vote against him, and even certain demographics, young people, frustrate them by not giving them ID cards or delay the issuance of the ID cards, or issue ID cards in areas, fast track issuing of ID cards in certain areas that they think they have more support. But the issue is it's an ideology election. People are discussing our politics based on the economy. So you will think you are giving this group, but that group, when the election time comes, will turn up against you. Because they also participate in the economy.
Yeah.
Everybody at an individual level is able to say, this is my interaction with this economy. It is working for me, or it's not working. There are no two ways about it. This is not about that you build roads, you build school. No. This is about everybody at the end of the day in the evening. Every Kenyan at the end of the day in the evening is confronted with the economic question on the dinner table. Whether there's a dinner on that table or there is no dinner on that table. Everybody. What struggles you went through to put that dinner on the table. Whether you are able to feed everybody for that day. That's a conversation in every household. People are having. Do we have food for the day? What did we go through to have food on the table? Was it a struggle? Was it easy? Even those who are stealing our public resources, they end up on the dinner table. Say today we stole from them. Our dinner table is full. It was a good day in office. The other side, you have Kenyans who've had to struggle. They were hoping to get a meal that will feed the whole family. They didn't get enough. Whatever little they have, they are dividing and sharing even with their neighbors, irrespective of their tribe. That dinner table is what will inform our next politics. You are going to witness also a lot of, they're going to try to sponsor candidates to come to the opposition side and try to divide Kenyans, people who are regime friendly. That is going to be a tactic.
It's an in-house game.
It's an in-house. Yeah, already you can see some of the movements. There are some young people, you see their movement, you can clearly tell this is sponsored by the regime with a view to confuse or to infiltrate the opposition voices. They are going to try to bring back the saddest, in fact, this is going to be the most potent weapon. They are going to bring back tribal politics. Pit Luos against Kikuyus, Kalenjins against Kambas. When you witness Madaraka Day, that online war, allegedly between Luos and Kikuyus, what was that? That was a state-sponsored war. Yeah, it was sponsored by the state to try to evoke tribal emotions, to dissuade people from focusing on the real issue of the country, which is the economy. You find now a Luo has never seen a Kikuyu in Nyalgunga. Now all of a sudden he's online blaming all his problems on a Kikuyu. A Kikuyu has never seen a Luo in his entire life. Now you are telling him a narrative that the worst enemy is a Luo. He has never seen somebody who was born somewhere deep in Nyeri. Has never gone past Karatina. All of a sudden now his problem is a Mjaluo. A Luo was born in Sindo. Has never passed Homa Bay town. All of a sudden his problem is a Mkikuyu. Do you think it is by chance?
No.
It is a narrative that a group has sat down and said, we are going to sell this narrative to divide
And this is the most strong one.
This is the strong one.
This
This
is
one
the
is
one.
the
You
one.
gotta hammer this one.
Run with it.
Run with it.
But it will not work. Because as I've said, at the end of the day, what will inform our election will be that dinner table. If at all it even exists. So many households don't even have a dinner table. Yeah. People are living hand to mouth. People dying with bills that they cannot pay. Kids who've gone to school, graduated, qualified, can't get jobs. Families that can't pay, access healthcare services just because of lack of money. People dying. Those are the things that will form the elections, not somebody's tribe. But legacy politicians will wish that we can turn this election into a tribal campaign.
There are people who have even said that fake IDs have been issued to people who are not even Kenyan so that they can be able to vote for him. Is that, do you think
let me say this. That one they'll try. But for a presidential election, my expertise is always elections. Do you know how difficult it is to mobilize 1 million people, 1 million, and give them fake IDs, and then marshal them into a political movement? It is so difficult.
And draining.
It is a logistical nightmare. So yes, they will try to give IDs. They may try to not exercise proper vetting for certain people. They may try, but it is impossible, because by the time you're even doing an operation to illegally register 100,000 people, in that immigration department, the registrar of persons, you want to tell me nobody is going to leak that story? By the time it gets to 100,000, the people who work in those offices live in Kenya. They're also Kenyans. Right from the cleaner all the way to the head of that office, they are also Kenyans. Mm-hmm. He will tell his friend, who will tell a friend, who will tell a friend. Before you know it, the information is out.
It's out there.
Even the people being given these IDs, they live in the society. They will tell a friend that now kuna mboka. Twende mboka.
Kuna unga pahali.
Kuna unga pahali. Kuna ID. The information, it is impossible. The most that they could do is to try to suppress numbers when it comes to registration. But even in suppressing numbers, unfortunately, you will need to get the cooperation of all these registration officers across the country. These registration officers, it's not like they were in UDA or William Ruto's associates to work to his advantage. No, they are the same ones who also live in the same community. They will share, somebody will just say, me at my level, I will process. And they will write letters to ask for fast tracking.
Yes. So
Kenyans are the one. This thing, there's no, what I like about this kind of politics of where we are today, it is not the legacy, the traditional politics where that was the one side and this was this side, led by a politician. Yeah, this side is led by this politician, that side is led by this politician. So I can focus on the enemies, the supporters of the other side to disenfranchise them. This time it is legacy politicians versus Kenyans. You can't even tell where the opposition is. We have people who have profiled themselves as opposition leaders. Munyoro is talking, Alonso, Matiangi, but they cannot claim that we are the ones in control of this opposition. We have our independents like Ngugi and myself. Talking our own things. We have Natembea talking his own things. So everybody on this side of the opposition, they are spread and they are everywhere. There are many Kenyans who are saying we are yet to see a leadership in the united opposition. That's not true where we are going to go. So it is still out there. You don't know what you are going to face in the election.
Do you think he's ready to be a one-term president?
It is not his choice to be ready. It is his destiny to be a one-term president. That is his destiny. You cannot fight your destiny. Once your destiny is determined, you accept it. His duty is to accept his destiny. He's a one-termer. In fact, he's lucky he's finishing a term. He would have gone like his other brother, if Gen Zs had finished the job. When your destiny is defined, there's nothing you can do about it. Your duty is just to accept and receive it when it comes.
Do you think it will be peaceful?
It will be extremely peaceful. I say peaceful because in my interactions with Kenyans, I'm not seeing Kenyans pitted against fellow Kenyans.
Yes.
I'm seeing Kenyans pitted against legacy politicians. And the majority are where the Kenyan people are. The leadership being sought is a leadership for the people of Kenya, not legacy politicians. Mm-hmm. It will be a very peaceful election. There is no Kenyan blaming a fellow Kenyan for the challenges we are facing. We are not fighting tribal wars. We are fighting economic liberation. That which affects everybody. Every Kenyan. When we win on the economy, there is no special shop for Kikuyus, for Luos, for Kalenjins, for Kambas. No.
It's all of us.
All of us. On issues, it affects everybody. So I don't see it turning bloody. And as I've said, even for him, what will he do? Will he release the army and unleash the army to kill Kenyans? No, he can't. He'll accept his fate. And the country will move forward. Mm-hmm. So even what you witness, the abductions, the repressions, the scare tactics that are deployed, has it reduced public anger against the regime? That's just increased it. So there's nothing you're going to deploy that will make people change. When you went around Nairobi the other day, and even parts of Coast, Kisii, Central, Nyanza, these whirlwind tours here in Nairobi, you saw what happened. You thought that was going to be a political moment. At the end of the 1 week, the issue that Kenyans remembered with was how we were robbed by border gangs that were following him everywhere. No one remembers even a single message that he said. It's his destiny. When he goes somewhere, it's an advertisement to Kenyans that he's like saying bye-bye. Yeah, he's just reminding us of the person we are going to vote against. So he's not campaigning to get votes. He's appearing to remind us of the person to be voted against. What can you do?
Yeah. Not much.
Not much.
But someone is also watching you, Willis, and they're like, I like Willis and Ngugi, but watu waongei tu poa hivi cause wajaingia huko ndani. You know? Mkiingia.
Let me tell you. You know, people ask me many times, why are you offering yourself for this? What do you want out of it? And
what's the catch?
What's the catch? For me, my interest is this. I don't intend to get into office to become a lord. I intend that we break the system and let a new system be built by the people of Kenya. We need to create a political template that is about the people, not about politicians defining for us. That to me is the greatest thing I would want to achieve out of my political participation. In terms of even how we should be running our politics, I don't want us to be in a situation where politicians come and tell you, nitatengeneza barabara. Who are you to tenga? Who are you in the first place? Who are you to jenga barabara? No. It is my money anyway. Me, I want to break these chains of oppression. What will we do, for example? I've given you an example before, and I'll repeat it. Why should we, in every election cycle, or every day, many Kenyans are facing police oppression? Our police is not a service. It's a tool of the oppressor. An average Kenyan sees a policeman, doesn't see him as a service. Sees him as somebody who fears. Why? Because over time, the politicians have used the police to come and brutalize citizens. The Gen Zs who were killed, 82 of them. All those 82, none was killed by a civilian. All of them were killed by police officers. Why? You go to demonstrate, you're met with a policeman carrying a baton and a gun to kill you. So the police is a tool of the oppressor. I want a society where we must break that political hold on the police. How do we do it? Why can't, in our constitution, this one, We said the police must be under civilian control. How do you achieve it? We have elections of the OCPD. Let the people of every police division elect their OCPD. The OCPD in charge of that division is the one who will be responsible for every deployment. And he can be a civilian or a police officer. When we do that, what we achieve is this. The units, whenever they're being deployed, remember the person responsible for the division is an elected representative. He is answerable to the people. If any death happens, he will go back, the people will go to him and ask him, hey, we elected you to kill us. Even him as he's deploying, he will make sure you are deployed. Why did you cause deaths? Yeah. Who told you to go out there with guns? Why should we do have police stations where a policeman arrogantly decides to arrest a Rose Njeri, keep her, rest on Friday, knowing Monday is a holiday, keep until Tuesday. When they bring a charge sheet, it's nonsense. It's nonsense. We are getting into politics to upset this entire system. Let power be in the hands of people.
I love that.
Let power be in the hands of people. Decisions should be made by people, councils, not legacy politicians. That is the question you're asked me. What is my interest in this? Am I just going to be a promise keeper, a promise maker like the legacy politicians? No. If we commit at the time of campaign that we are going to reduce VAT, let's take, for example, VAT on fuel. The number one hindrance to farmers is the cost of production. Look at the cost of fuel. Many farmers are not using tractors for plowing. Why? Cost of fuel. They prefer that they tell the family that if he has a family of 4, the kids, they delay going to school to go and hand plow. Yeah, before they go to school. That kid gets to school, is very tired. She's very tired. She can't concentrate. You even diminish her capacity to learn. And even what they are going to plow in a day is negligible. Why? Because the cost of a tractor in the village is too expensive. You put 16% VAT on fuel. If you said as a commitment to the people, we are reducing VAT on fuel from 16% to 5%, power in the hands of the people. So it's the mwananchi that pays the VAT. Yeah. We signed a commitment during the campaign. And this is it. On the date of election, after you do your vote, go and adjust, after we win, go and adjust your pump price. It's not government to come and tell you we are reducing it. No. That was the commitment that you did with the political group.
That's the promise.
Yeah. So you go and adjust the pump price. We are saying we are adjusting the pump price. Now 5% VAT on petrol. We believe as Safina that we want to make commitments that are self-executing. You don't have to wait for a legacy politician or a politician to drive it. No. The commitments that we are going to make should be self-executing, that the people will be able to do it. When we say you are going to elect your OCPD, everybody knows their police division and the polling stations under that police division. You report on a day, you elect your OCPD. We'll just make the law to facilitate it. But it is your power to elect him.
Power to the people.
Power to the people. When we say the OCPD, every police station must have a local committee, oversight committee. They'll be there. The committee will meet, like some areas that are doing it with health center committees. Go there and elect your local committee in charge of a police station. And they will check everything. The use of firearms by police officers. The Constitution says police must be subject to civilian oversight. So we must change our politics. Otherwise, 60 years of legacy politics, here is the product.
This is where we are.
This is where we are.
Usiseme hivyo.
No.
Ukisema hivyo sasa inauma.
No, 60 years, you've tried.
This is where we
let me
are.
tell you, Lynn.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes people ask me, oh, Willis, maybe you're lying to us, you'll not do these things. But I say, look at it this way. Our worst, what's the worst you can get out of us? The worst you can get out of us is that we will disappoint and do exactly what the legacy politicians have done, right?
Yes.
But what is our potential best? We'll do beyond what legacy politicians have done to you. We'll upset that entire system. But what is their best, legacy politicians?
Yeah.
Their best is to do exactly what they've been doing. Their best is our worst. They cannot change. So there's no potential with them. So why are you wasting time with this legacy politician? If you want to continue the same conversation, go ahead.
Go ahead. 60 years.
60
and
years.
This is the best.
No, these are 60 years.
These are 60 years.
Go to some countries.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm sorry to say this. I look at some of the stadiums that they put up and people start celebrating, like the Homa Bay one. If you wanted to put a stadium in Homa Bay, go and look at some of the stadiums that county governments, state governments have put up in West Africa. Here in Nigeria, even go to Guinea. FIFA quality with very excellent amenities. But Kenya, people put up small structures. We've been reduced to celebrate mediocrity. That even when you deserve something that makes a difference, it's given to you in a mediocre way that even undermines. That for you to one day achieve that which you deserve, you'll have to bring down this one and start afresh. Yeah. If you're not ready, don't do it.
True.
Don't do it. If you're not ready to do it, at least this one that they are putting in Talanta, the images looks a bit better. At least you can say maybe there's a vision here to deliver something.
But we should always demand for the best.
Go for if you can't give them the best, give the people the best.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't celebrate mediocrity.
Yeah.
In the sense that we are starting somewhere. There's no starting somewhere.
Yeah.
You deserve the best as a people.
We do. Thank you.
And it's your money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Si kubeg.
Si kubeg.
Tuache kukaa tuna beg for our rights. Yeah. But all the very best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for enlightening us today. Now I know even the people who are going to watch this, our subscribers on the platform, they have it in their mind why election is 2026.
Yes.
And I feel like the more we spread this, the more awareness we create around it. I don't view it as election is 2026. I view it as us protecting our constitution.
Exactly.
Because if we keep working on it and disregarding it, then you can imagine the many things that could go wrong.
Exactly.
If we don't obey our constitution.
Exactly.
So I'm not even excited it's 2026. I'm more excited that it gives people an opportunity to collectively protect our constitution, which for me is a big deal. So that maybe now this conversation makes people go back to their booklets, makes the way we analyzed the finance bill. Maybe it's time for people to also keep going back to their constitution and see what that says. So I'm pretty sure majority of us will be waiting to hear what the Supreme Court has to say. And also maybe I have good faith. Like I'm positive about the coming few years. I think when the nation is awakened, not much could go wrong.
That's true.
And I know, just as you said, people will try to cash in on this tribal narrative. They can always go back to this episode and see me and you doing it together.
That's true.
That's all they need to do. Look at people who are making it work, regardless of the different. And I say we shouldn't be ashamed of our tribes.
No.
Like I am Nyambura. I am proud. I exist as Nyambura. You know?
I'm an Otieno, and I'm proud to be an Otieno. But I cannot use my name Otieno now to say I have a problem with Nyambura.
Thank you. How? That's stupid, actually.
It's just my identity as an Otieno. But in terms of the issues affecting our lives, we're all Kenyans.
We are all Kenyans.
And your tribe does not give you any advantage. It's just a basis to identify yourselves. But when you come into a country called Kenya, you now say, we need to focus on you as a human being.
Yes.
Human dignity knows no tribe.
There we go.
And it knows no race.
That's my take home. Human dignity knows no tribe. I see how it's playing on X. I see venye watu wanarushiana maneno and I'm like, guys, if you keep letting this pass, this is exactly what they want you to do. They want to divide you, along tribal lines, and that cannot happen.
It will not succeed.
Yes. What would that parting shot to our audience from you
My parting shot is that the defense of our constitution and the quest for a Kenya that guarantees a life of dignity to all is a responsibility that we all owe. Not just to ourselves, but to the future generation, to our children and their children. This country where we live in today the space we occupy today, it is not that we inherited it from our ancestors to use it. No, we borrowed it from our children and their children to leave it for this time with a view to hand it over to them.
Good.
When the time comes.
When the time comes. I appreciate you.
Thank
Hopefully
you.
I get to see you again soon
Yes,
for another beautiful
I'll always
conversation.
come when you call me.
Yes, salimia watu huko nje, let's talk more. Let's have conversations that matter. I think for me, my parting shot to you guys is to make sure that even as we approach the election period, take a moment to reflect and ask, this person that I keep vouching for, I fight for, I'm always supporting, what exactly have they done? We have got to analyze and, tangible results, guys. Let's not be fascinated by promises that are never, promises that never come to fruition. Tangible results. Mtu alisema atafanya hii, amefanya. Okay, penye kuna tick, tunapea mtu tick. Penye mtu hajafanya, you call them out. And as Willis is saying, we are bound to experience one of the highest voter turnout election in the history of the country. How prepared are you? Do you have your ID? Have you registered? Will you make sure that you go through these manifestos? Will you take your phone and try to create awareness? Wacheni kuuziwa uoga. Ni sawa. Endeni pale TikTok, muone venye Katiba Ninja anafanya, atanilipa because of this shout out, but and other many people that are creating awareness. Go out there and create awareness the best way you know how. Msiuziwe uoga. My name is Lynn. I'll catch you guys hopefully tomorrow. Maybe by the time you get to see this, we'll be taking a rest, but in case you don't see much from the platform the coming few weeks, know your girl is safe. She's taking a rest, and I'll be back in a week or so. Bye.